Hail the tribe of the internet. I am Mortis, and there is a huge spoiler on the screen. Please just don't look at him. It's because I recorded this intro after I finished the game because I had to separate my last recording session into two videos. It's ended up being very long, so I kind of had to chop it up. So yeah, this is gonna be the last episode of Dicentra. The video itself gonna have an immediate res, opening kind of thingy because obviously I chopped up one big recording session. But fret not, it's gonna be good. Please enjoy. Okay. The door to Dove's bedroom flies open and slams against the wall. Yes, Daddy! I feel Dove goes still as a statue under my head. I lift my head up from her lap. The hand that had been patting the fur along my spine now holds it in a numbing grip. I feel his magic before I see him. The grotesque dolls above us rattle and the drapes around Dove's bed tremble. Yes! Daddy is not happy! So what did you mean you never asked for this? You never asked for to be a witch or a witchling or something? That's what you meant? Soon after, his footsteps enter into the room. My breathing pauses. Dove's father must have finally seen what we did. Yes! A burst of magic knocks me over. I hear Dove gasp and feel her arms cage around me. Air slams into us like a train and sends the canopy curtain into a wide billow. The cold air makes my eyes sting and I squeeze them shut. Static makes my first stand. It feels like the wind is blended with shocking strings of electricity. Dove, we are both going to die here. When the gale finally dies down, I can feel Dove's heart slamming against her ribs as she shields my body with her own. Her breath comes out in distressed gasps. I dare to open my eyes again, and darkness surrounds us. My own heart hammers away as I gaze out into the space beyond the posts of the bed frame. The curtains have been magically dissolved, leaving us completely exposed to the void. Ha! Yes. Yes, and we don't have the dolls either. Yes, it is fine. Every shallow breath I make sounds enhanced by the nothingness. Everywhere I look is swallowed by darkness, save for a single light that drapes over Dove's bed. I look up, trying to find its source. It seems to come from nowhere. I take a peek over the edge of the bed. I can see my own appearance reflected in the obsidian surface that covers the ground. Ripples break the calmness of the glassy liquid, caused by something that walks towards us. Arms yank me back from the edge of the bed. Dove scarcely breathes. She holds me close and twists her body in an attempt to hide me from the one who approaches. It's the wish. It's Daddy. I brace myself to face his wrath. Well, yes. What else could you do? His footsteps create a wet slap as he draws closer. The sound of the footsteps is much lighter than I expected them to be. My whole body seizes with terror. Oh, it's the boy! It's not Daddy! What have you done? Yeah, you have mommy issues as well. Dove flinches from the wave of energy that radiates off of him. A feeling of nausea pains my innards as the boy steps out of the shadows instead of the witch. Dove's breath catches and her arms shake around me. They hold onto me like a lifeline. The light from above creates harsh shadows over the boy's enraged features. You insolent child! Wait, what are you? You're a child as well. Do you understand what you've done? I'm not sure. The boy bares his teeth in a sneer. He circles around the bed with his hands behind his back, like a viper taking its time to stalk its prey before it strikes. My ears flatten from the threat in his venomous stare. I turn my head, trying to keep him in my line of sight, but his body flickers through the shadows like a specter. One moment he appears normal, the next moment, the pristine white skull of a wolf decorates the upper part of his face. He manifested it. He really is a witch as well. The boy raises his hands to his head and curses into himself. Okay. I was so close. Oh, you wanted to bring her back? Not even Daddy? We could have had everything again. Dove leans forward and tightens her arms around me. We don't need her. The boy snaps in her direction. Wrong. I need her. The boy begins to pace back and forth, water sloshing at his feet. My brows furrow. Oh, so Daddy wanted to bring her back to you? I thought he wanted to bring her back because he loved her, not because his tiny little baby boy needed his mama. I crane my neck to look onto the ground again. The black liquid now gurgles and splashes against the frame of the bed as it slowly climbs higher and higher. This is no good at all. So what? We will be fine. I can hear Dove start to sniffle above me. The child whips around and grabs the two posts at the foot of the bed. I hear them crack under his grip. We'll not be fine. What is going to happen to you? Dove's breathing turns ragged. To think you would betray her so. Dove hiccups and hides her face in my neck. You know of the expectations she had for you. I suppose she would be so proud of what you've done. I hear Dove gasp. She would really love what you've become. So wicked, all on your own. The boy's face twists into a wry smile. I can hear the wooden posts under the boy's hands start to splinter. Soon after, something begins to slither up from the dark waters. Tendrils of oily black vines coil up the frame of the bed and slowly crawls towards us. Thorns resembling long and sharp needles spike out from them. The boy's face suddenly falls into despair and his gaze drops. If she hadn't become so greedy, I wouldn't have had to do what I did. What the fuck? You killed her? I watch his expression turn sour before his head snaps back up to glare at Dove with glassy eyes. She's all I have. What the fuck are you talking about? The posts break in half. Dove throws herself over me as the broken wood is swallowed by the rising ebony lake around us, creating a deafening splash. Dove's cold body trembles and I feel anger swelling me like dark waves. Does Dove truly mean nothing to him? I start to growl. The boy glares viciously at Dove. Now you made things considerably more difficult. Do you know how much more we will have to pay to bring... I pity her back. You still can't bring her back. She don't has her body anymore. This is not fine at all, Dove. I hear Dove break into a sob, then I snap. I tear out of her arm and lash out at the boy with a snarl. The boy stumbles back slightly in surprise, but manages to respond with a dark scowl. Ew. Dove's breath hitches behind me when the boy starts to lift his arms. I think I've tolerated you disrupting my home for long enough. What do you mean your home? What about the father? I stand my ground and my throat rumbles. I bend my knees to prepare my attack as bloody patterns begin to manifest on the back of his hand. Then, in a single blink, we are back in Dove's room with the curtains of her canopy back in place. The boy spins around. I hear glass crunch under his feet. His enraged expression melts into confusion as he faces the window. And then, a sound thunders throughout the entire mansion. I freeze as the chime of the grandfather clock pierces the air. The heavy metal clang makes the air around us tremble and painfully reverberates inside my skull. My body submits to the overwhelming sound and my tail goes between my legs. The boy's hands fly up to cover his ears. The hell! The boy groans out in agony. Black veins begin to spread from the dark markings around the boy's eyes. I can see blood dripping start to drip from his nose. He staggers back and brings a hand up to swipe swipe at the blood. His eyes wide in shock when he sees it coating his fingers. I can't see the window beyond the curtains of the canopy, but for just a fraction of a second, I swear I see the red light that spills into the room flickers with a mysterious shadow. Shit! The boy cups the bottom of his nose, then makes long strides towards the door in a hasty exit. He pauses at the threshold of the broken door, then places his hand on the frame. Red blooms in the back of his hand as a magic circle forms and overrides the incomplete spell etched onto his skin. You will stay in here and out of my way. Dove lets out a panicked gasp. No! Dove bounds off the bed and throws herself at the door, just as it vanishes with the boy on the other side. So baby boy is the man in the house? Dove slams against the blank wall that now stands where her door used to be. I hop off the bed and try to avoid the paint-covered glass all over the floor. A breeze brushes against my fur. It's coming from the window. I take a peek outside. There is no longer anything separating us from the outside elements. The glass panes of the window have been completely shattered, and now those paintings lie in scattered pieces across the floor. Somewhere else in the house, the grandfather clock continues its booming toll. Time flows so much faster when you can hear its presence. When it was quiet, I felt like I had permission to think it had been frozen, put on hold, so that when it once again resumes, everything that had happened in its absence wouldn't count as real. The disturbing clanging finally stops, but the sound of ticking continues mercilessly. I look over and Dove runs her hands over the smooth wall where her door used to be. Her hands drop. Without making a sound, she stands and turns to face the mess of glass of the floor. Streaks of dried black tears and red blotches paint her cheeks. Her eyes scan the glass and the window warily. It's like she's just become completely numb to everything. I whimper. Dove leans down, picks up a shard of glass and clenches her fist around it. Why? The glass slices into her palm, sending Dove into a state of shock. I tilt my head in concern. Did she think it wouldn't cut her? Her head twists on her neck as she searches around the room for something, but all she finds is silence. My brows press together as I observe her strange actions. Then something clicks in my mind. I remember seeing her do something like this before. After Baba had left, Dove looked for her, just like she does now. Dove's eyes drop to the ground as she releases the shard, her arms falling at her sides. Oh, I'm alone now. Yes? My eyes slowly blow wide open. She drops onto the floor in a heap, and her eyes turn into a dual blue as she retreats into the darkest corners of her mind. It's the last safe place she has. All because of me. Well, just a bit, like not really. We haven't forced her to do anything. Each ghost was a decoration that hid the bars of this birdcage Dove calls home, despite the fact that they had been rotting away long before I'd arrived. One by one, I ripped them down, forcing her to see this space for the cold, empty prison cell it truly is. It's because of the ghosts themselves that she was able to find comfort despite being in a place so depraved of that. Without them, what does she have? I look around the room and analyze every little detail. The books, the plants and drawings, the monsters. Everything Dove has done since I first met reveals everything I need to know about her. Dove has never tried to get out. She'd already settled into the discomfort. I feel my fur bristle. Dove have lived with the monsters like she was one of them. She must think she truly is one, after being treated like one for so long. She's been convinced that she is something that belongs to the night, hidden away, locked away. Something undeserving of love and care. No, something that can only be loved by things that are as terrible as she is. Dove's father had locked her cage from the outside, and she had locked it from the inside. The ghosts were her distractions. That's all Dove has ever done. Distract herself so nothing needs to change. If she is distracted, She won't focus on the things she truly yearns for. She won't think of how she wishes things were better. For Dove, the path of improvement starts with a steep decline. She now stands at the top of the hill, looking down, completely scared out her wits. There are two options at this point for her. She can either stay at the top, where the air is cold and thin, or she can walk forward into the unknown. It's an extreme choice to make, but maybe if I stay by her side, she will have the courage to make the right one. There is no love for her here, and Dove must think there is none for her outside of these walls either. But there is me, perhaps she's right. No, I'm here for you. I will love Dove, yes. So much that I will overflow with it. I will have enough love to last us lifetimes. I will be the first love Dove when she is free. Okay, and I won't be the last. You're a dog, you know that. But how do I convince her of that? Love is just a word. It can be empty, heavy, easy to say, or impossible to say. It means nothing when there is no foundation under it to bear its weight. Love. Sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes it's too simple. Sometimes it's too complicated. To say you love or loved can mean so many different things to whoever hears it. So how can I define what my love means for Dove? How can I prove to her that this feeling I have is hers to have, to take, to use, to consume, to devour? Oh my god. If I were to cut out my heart and serve it to her on a platter to feast on, I still don't think that would be enough. Are you okay, puppy? I take a deep breath to calm the frantic beating in my chest. Maybe nothing will be different on the outside. After all, there is no such thing as a normal childhood for children like us. When other kids were playing in the creek to catch crayfish, I could only watch from the distance. The last time I tried to play with them, they ran away. They knew who I was. A werewolf. What I was. A werewolf! Their parents would have told them, warned them, to stay away. Not plainly, no. That wouldn't be effective. What is more powerful than the curiosity of a child? Not many things, I think. Wouldn't I know that best? They needed to be creative to keep their children away from beasts like us. To them, we are folklore, songs, scary stories to be told at bedtime. Our nails are iron, our teeth are sharp, our eyes can curse, our voices can steal, our blood can burn. And I suppose after everything I've been through, they are right to be terrified. We truly are nightmares brought to life. We are nightmares that pierce the veil of safety, so we can walk outside in the daytime amongst them. We don't even look that different though. At least, not at first. Maybe if no one looks too closely. Dove could pass off as one of them, so she could be accepted into their care. My heart clenches at the thought. No, that would be impossible. Witches themselves try so hard to smother the magic in their own children, and the result only makes them yearn for it more. The witchling is born starved, not for food or affection, but for the ether. That's why we can never be mistaken for humans. We wear our hunger for magic on our sleeves. Are you a witch as well? Anyone would be able to instantly tell that we are not the same. After everything that happened, to try and contain Dove, even outside the wall of this mansion, would be too cruel. If Dove cannot be loved for who she is, what would all of this effort be for? I look to my side. Near me, Dove wraps her arm around her knees and hides her face. You have to leave this place. No. Not without you. My eyes sweep over the scattered shards of glass and the paintings that have been separated into parts like puzzle pieces. I start to push large pieces together until the paintings align, not really considering the reason of my action. Dove's eyes widen and she tries to push me away from the glass. Stop, you will get hurt. Don't bother yourself, they are just stupid drawings. I wince when a shard cuts into the fleshy pad of my paw, but I do not stop. Oh, puppy, you made them. How can they be stupid? My bleeding paw leaves little red marks on the floor as I continue rearranging the broken glass. As the paintings are slowly reformed, I take note of what they are. The long gleams of Ziri, the flowing train of mycelium from Babel, the many hands of Odette, the sharp elbows of Grail. Duff had even painted the trailing gore of her mother's ghost. Aww. Their images become laid out before me, cradled by swirling brushstrokes. Duff uncurls her arms and leans forward on her palms. Her fingers reach out to tentatively brush against the glass. My paws sting with cuts and leave smudges of red on the floor. As Dove admires the fractured paintings, an idea forms in my head. As I burst into action, I wonder how I had never thought to do this before. Jump out the window. I press my bloody paw onto the floor and work hastily. I get even more chunks of glass embedded into my paws, but I'm numb to the pain at this point. I bark to get Dove's attention. She turns her head slowly, then I watch shock begin to take over her features. Dove's lips move, not speaking, simply mouthing the word I've written on the floor. Oh, I can write? Her eyes grow watery. I hop and press little red paw prints against her dress. Oh. I then hop back down and tuck my chin into my chest to point at myself. And me. Oh, ho, ho, puppy! Puppy, you're so sweet. I move to stand behind the word I've written and my tail swings side to side. Friends. Oh, puppy! Written in blood and all, which has to mean something, right? It doesn't matter if the word disappears, the blood will cling to every tiny grain in the wood, into the very essence of this house, even after it's long gone. This word is my gift to Dove. Oh, puppy Doge! For the fireworks, for the safety, for letting me meet her. It can be taken back. You are my friend, Dove, and I am yours. Until the word is nothing but memory dust floating through time. Dove's lip begins to wobble. We are friends? Yes! My tail wags. I nod my head slowly and hold her eyes in mine fiercely. Dove sniffles and wipes at her eyes. Then, she asks me a question that catches me completely off guard. What's your name? Yes! My eyes grow wide. A wave of emotion goes through me. My whole body suddenly feels like it's been strung tight. My name? My head bows and I stare at the floor. I swallow a gulp, then drag my bloody paw along the boards. When I'm done, Dove's eyes consider what I've written. She stares at my name with wonder, before flickering her gaze to me. Basil? I feel my breath get knocked out of my lungs. I blink rapidly to fight off the wave of sadness. I didn't know I would miss hearing my own name so much. Oh, puppy! It feels like a piece of my true self has been returned to me. I miss it so much. Oh, puppy dog! The sound of my grandmother calling my name. Whether with affection or discipline, I miss it all. Dove lets out a small hiccup and the well inside of her begins to overflow. Tears fall down her cheeks. The sun shines in the obsidian streaks like starlight. Oh! She surges forward and throws her arms around my neck. Oh, I desperately wish I could also shed my own tears, but my feelings are trapped inside of this body. I can do no more than softly whimper out my sorrow. Oh, baby! Dove sobs into my fur and wipes at the snot that leaks from her nose. Oh, poor baby! Look at her! Basil, yes! My heart jumps at the way she says my name. My eyes close and I nuzzle my head against her, breathing in the way she smells like old books and withered lilacs to hide the smell of decay that clings to everything in this house. Dove cries her heart out. I begin to wonder if she will cry herself to death. I think she has enough tears hoarded away to cry endlessly. Oh, eventually though, her wails start to wane into quiet sniffles. I jump and my ears pick up the sound of something clinking. Dove's fingers clutch the leaf charm on my necklace. Oh, yes! It suits you even more than I imagined. Yes! I look up at Dove and she smiles softly before turning her head towards the broken glass. Dove pulls away from me and looks to her side. It's not done yet. My gaze swings to the empty section above the paintings of the monsters. The other parts were easy to fit together because I could recognize the creatures, but some sections were difficult to piece together. Dove moves to kneel before the unfinished section with her back to the window. She leans over the pieces and starts to place the missing parts together. Her hands move confidently to stitch the fragments together. I suppose it makes sense that she's far more familiar with the paintings. When she's done, she leans back. The completed painting finally sits before me. I tilt my head in bewilderment as I take it in. I've never seen this creature before. The longer I gaze upon it, the more unsettled I start to feel. The painting is a shadowed humanoid. It's devoid of details or anything that can help me identify it. The most unique thing about it is the spread of bat-like wings and the long, clawed fingers that stretch out, as if beckoning you to come closer. Are they real, or just a figment of Dove's imagination, or is it Dove? A strong breeze chills me. Dove twists her neck to look behind her. Her hair flies around like leaves in the wind. I notice her gaze catch onto something and delicately pad over to the window. A rose! A single rose stands on the seat in front of the window. There is nothing to hold it up. Something enchants it to stand perfectly straight, as if it's a piece of glass. The petals are white as snow, like the ones in the rooftop garden. My instincts are screaming at me to stay away from it, but Dove moves like clockwork before I can stop her. When it comes to roses, people typically avoid its thorns. There usually isn't a need to stay clear of the soft petals, but I would caution that these ones stay admired from a distance. Dove brings the tip of her finger to the cluster of tiny teeth that line each petal. The petals waste no time snapping shut around the offered flesh. Ew! Dove wrenches her hand back with a gasp, and a small ring of teeth marks wrap around her finger. We both watch as her blood starts to soak through each petal until the rose bleeds into a vibrant red. Where did it come from? My muscles are tense. A noise makes me jump. My eyes snap to the outside of the window. It almost sounded like the flap of wings. My gaze darts from the trees to the sky in search, but nothing stands out. Was it just my imagination? I look to Dove, and her eyes are completely fixed on the rose with an expression I cannot read. Yes? We remained trapped in Dove's room for days. At first, we were desperate to find a way out. To be trapped in this box with nothing but books and our wits, I was afraid we would go mad. But eventually, we decided to just start waiting. Well, Dove decided waiting would be the best course of action, and I howled about it until I was too tired to continue howling. She had a plan, and I didn't like it one bit. As we wasted away, warm meals and fresh water would appear in the room, but Dove would only touch the water. Worry takes a bite out of me every time I see how much more tired and frail she becomes. We could still hear the ticking from the grandfather clock, and I counted every second painstakingly to track how much time has passed. Oh my god! That's a lot of seconds! And after that, the door reappears. And the witch walks through it. Hi, Daddy, I missed you. Dove looks up from her place amongst her book towers. The witch steps into the room and places a hand on his hip. He looks down at Dove and gives her a smile. Up you get, darling. It's time to get ready for dinner. Okay. Dove looks like she's dressed for a funeral. Ew! Oh, it doesn't suit you, darling. No, not bit. After finally being freed from the confines of Dove's room, I watched as she was dragged into the kitchen and placed into a steaming copper tub to be scrubbed clean. The witch makes no comment when he catches a glimpse of the thin cuts and up and down her arms before she shoves them into the water. Then, like she's nothing more than a doll, she is buttoned up in all black dress. It's far more fancy than anything I've seen her wear before. Yeah, but it's ugly. To be wrapped up so formally, I fear for what the occasion must be. Yes. All the candles that had covered the dining room table have been cleared away. The linen has been replaced with a fresh one, and all 3 chairs have been uncovered. On top of the table now sits platters and plates of exquisite food. Fruits polished to a mirror-like shine, free of any blemishes. Steaming meats with thick sauces mixed with vegetables. The food is so enticing, it's suspicious, but part of me still hopes that Dove will hide away a plate for me after this no dogs allowed event is over. I'm not allowed? I can feel saliva start to pool in my mouth from the temptation of the smell alone. And after not eating for days, I can't imagine how Dove is faring as she sits opposite to her father. Candles flicker and crackle around the room while a storm rages against the window outside. I sit in the hallway, peering into the room through a gap in the doorway. Music plays faintly on the side, filling the awkward silence. Dove hasn't said a word. She sits neatly with her hands on top of one another on her lap, while her eyes try to set the empty chair next to her father ablaze. The witch takes a long sip of the rich, dark red liquid in his wine glass and sets it down with a tap. Is it blood? He looks just as weary as Dove does. His skin dulled has to a lifeless grey, and the marks around his eyes have sunken even deeper and darker. His eyes flick around the room, almost anxiously. A candle pops loudly behind him, and I see his shoulders jump. He twists his neck to quickly look behind him, and my head tilts slightly. Surely that didn't actually frighten him. I'm telling you, the little man is the big man in the house. I can feel my nerves start to fray from his strange behavior. He blinks and composes himself once more before turning his gaze to Dove and clearing his throat. I'm sorry you've been locked away for so long. I feel my lip curl over my teeth. Is he sorry about her bedroom door or the mansion doors? I see Dove's eyes blink at me from the corner of my eye, before she acknowledges the witch's apology. The witch? She doesn't. Dove's eyes fall to the covered plate in front of her. She reaches for her fork and holds it up, ready to finally eat. The witch holds up a hand. Not yet. Dove's bottom lip just out in disappointment. She drops the fork with a clang and slumps in her seat. The witch swallows his wine. Don't forget grace, my dear. We can't eat until devils have blessed our meal. Dove crosses her arms over her rumbling stomach. Tell me, what have you been reading lately? I lay my head on my paws and huff quietly. What hasn't she been reading? Dove turns her head to stare out at the rain that taps against the window. Nothing you would find interesting. Indulge me, I'm curious. Dove takes a deep breath. I was going through a collection of work by one writer. His name was Lowe or something along those lines. The witch leans his head on his palm and takes a sip of his wine. Ah yeah, I'm familiar with him. He sets the wine glass down. Not quite my cup of tea, I'll admit, but I do find some of his words quite captivating. One of them being, I was never really insane. The witch looks at Dove expectantly. She blinks, then looks down at her lap with the slightest hint of redness in her cheeks. Except upon occasions when my heart was touched. Dove's fingers tangle together on her lap, and I see the witch give her a small smile. Ah, you're definitely a fan of his works already, I see. More red stains Dove's cheeks, and she sinks lower in her chair. The witch opens his mouth to continue the conversation, then he suddenly shoots up from his chair. Dove startles just as I do when his chair falls to the floor with a loud clatter. My heart pounds and my ears stand on a high alert. What on earth? I rise up from the floor and I bend my elbows, ready to burst into the room if need be. I peek out from the edge of the tablecloth and see the witch stagger back a step, with his skull mask now over his eyes. His eyes are glued to the windows. I switch my gaze over to them and see nothing. This family seems to be very good at seeing things that are not in plain view. I'm convinced this house is haunted by far more than just ghosts, especially considering the fact that we personally sent most of them departing. In less than a blink, the witch's mask is dissolved and he resets his chair back to the way it was. I catch a glimpse of his forearm and see a smudge of red. He used magic. But for what? The answer comes in the sound of light knocking. Hidden in the shadows of the dining room are hints of movement and flashes of strings. I swallow. Dove sits stiffly in her chair and doesn't acknowledge the new unwelcomed audience. The witch returns to his seat, picks up his glass and finishes his wine to the dregs. He sets the empty glass on the table and starts to rub his temples. I apologize, I seem to be seeing things lately. Dove says nothing and avoids looking at him. Her father sighs wearily, then grabs a bottle of wine to refill his glass. Let's go on a trip. Just you, me, and Hypatia? Dove's head snaps up to look at her father. He finishes pouring the wine and sets it down with a tap that makes Dove flinch hard. It's been a long time since you left this place, hasn't it? The witch's mouth forms a thin line. We will go somewhere nice, then, the three of us. Everything has been prepared to bring her back. He holds the bowl of his wine glass and considers the deeply colored contents. Also, I need a tea break. I just need... The witch's brows furrow together. He seems to be hesitating on what to say. One last thing. Dove looks at her father like he's growing 6 heads. Shock and fury crosses her features until her eyes burn bright with betrayal. Her eyes prick with tears, but she does not let them fall. Dove's eyes drop down to the covered plate in front of her. The witch rises from his seat swiftly and begins to make his way over to Dove's end of the table. In the air, I start to smell the notes of something. Sour. I watch Dove nervously. I wanted to celebrate. Dove is as white as the linen on the dining table by the time he stands beside her. He places his hand on top of Dove's plate cover. Tonight. Dove's mouth falls open like a marionette. We will finally be whole again. A single black tear slides down her cheek. I made your favorite. He starts to lift the cover off. Violet jelly, I guess. I jump when the witch suddenly flies back and drops the lid with a mind-rattling clang. My ears fall and the veil is torn away. A curdled smell invades my senses and makes me reel back from my place at the dining room in trance. When I look, I see that all the food on the table has decayed, with patches of mold dusting near every surface. Flies zip around the food and maggots wiggle and fall onto the table in clumps. I force down the need to retch, especially when I lay eyes on Dove's favorite food. I think it might be a little undercooked, considering it's still wriggling and writing on her plate. Ew. Worms? Dove wears a blank expression as she stares down at the leeches. Oh, not worms, leeches. I can't even begin to fathom what passes through her head as she picks up her fork and knife and starts cutting up her meal. They want to sacrifice Dove? The witch stumbles away in disgust and backs up against the window. Dove takes her time slicing a leech into pieces. Blood leaks out from its lifeless body and pools on her plate. Excuse me? Her face is frighteningly calm as she picks up a gory chunk and gracefully with her fork. I can see the witch watch in horror as she begins to raise it to her mouth. I can't tell what he is anticipating more as he makes no move to stop her, because he observes her like a live experiment. Knowing what I know of Dove, there are 2 possibilities for what she might do. 1. She sets her fork back down after nothing more than a disturbing bluff. And 2, she eats the raw leech. Yet there are no many more possibilities than that in this situation. You can drop the plate. Drop the plate into your father's face and run away, but if he was hoping the former might come true, well, then he doesn't know what kind of daughter he raised. Dove chews slowly, carefully. Eating leeches can be risky, but it's been chopped up. If they are still whole and alive when you eat them, there is a highly likely chance that they will latch their teeth onto your internal organs. Oh, and if you're unable to remove them, they will drink your blood until they are swollen and blocking your airways. Ew. After doves swallow, the witch makes the sign of the cross, the devil's version, which is just the inverse of the holier version. His hands tremble as he does. Now his expression mirrors Dove's state of shock from earlier. It's true. You are one of theirs. Whose? What is going on? Lightning illuminates the sky behind the witch. For the fraction of a second, I swear I see the silhouette of something amongst the clouds, but there is no time to dwell on it. The witch wears a solemn expression as he stares down at Dove. It has to be you. Dove's head turns until her eyes land on me. My heart beats erratically. Her mouth forms the word go. It's now, I gulp. Or never. I turn down the hallway and hear a whooshing sound as every candle and light in the house is extinguished. I hear Dove gasp and the entire mansion groan. Then one by one in the dark, red eyes blink into existence until the hallway is speckled with them. First, I freeze when I hear the voice of the boy come from right behind me. I will deal with you. I immediately break into a run. Please don't get hurt, though. I break into the study and heave as I catch my breath. My feet sprint over to the shelves and knock over books and bottles. I dig through jars of ambiguous preserved objects, searching high or low for secrets. Dove said that if there is a key to how the witch comes and goes out of the mansion, it would be in here and nowhere else. She would never try to look for it all these years because she did not have a reason to leave. Until now. The mansion consumes so much magic to do everything it does, which limits how much is available for him to use. He wouldn't waste energy when he's been using so much of it to research how to revive my mother first and keep me imprisoned second. Dove looks away for a moment. Even then, with all we could save, yes. Even then, with all the magic he devours, there is scarcely any left. Dove's eyes glaze over and she stares blankly at the air that surrounds us. When there is barely anything else, he uses the blood caps. I don't know a thing about my father, but I know my father. What? But I know my father. My heart tugs as I remember the plan Dove had devised. I will finally have the privilege of having his attention all to myself, while you find the thing that will open this manor's doors. I leap onto a stool and claw my way onto the table that stands in the middle of the room. My eyes rake through small bowls of crushed herbs, stacks of journals, and hastily written notes, but nothing resembles what could be the key that unlocks these walls. It has to be here somewhere. I use the height of the table to my advantage and drag my gaze through every corner of the room. Maybe there is a button or something, a map? I shift through my own memories. It feels like the clue is already within me, but it refuses to surface. The rattle of chains disrupts my line of thinking. Then something in my mind clicks. My ears twist on my head, following the sound, then my eyes land on it. Sitting on the witch shrine shines a silver turiball. Okay, I don't know what a turiball is, but this is it. Oh, it's the thing, the incense thing. Strings of delicate chains drape off the edge, and purple smoke curls out of the incense holder. Yeah, I know what it is. My nose soaks up a woody, spicy scent, and suddenly I'm pulled back to the very first day. I remember the smell and the sound of chains moving in a controlled motion. The key. I have no doubt about it. This has to be it. I jump off the study table and bolt for the witch shrine. I'm just inches away from snapping my teeth around the hanging chains when the eyes of every skull in the shrine come to life. Ew. I skid to a halt as a red glow materializes in the once lifeless shadows of the skull's eye sockets. Suddenly, it feels like I have the weight of 1,000 eyes upon me. Their voices strike me like lightning, all screaming out for the same thing. Alexius? Who the fuck is Alexius? Is it Father? The floorboards underneath me tremble from the fury that comes through the shrine. Or the kid. My heart completely drops into the acid of my stomach. Then another scream has me spinning. Basil! My ears pick up the sound of footsteps coming closer to the study. A set of light ones and heavy ones. I panic. My eyes jump between the turrible and the door. Turrible. I yank the turrible down onto the floor and start to pick it up with my mouth. Then the door to the study creaks open. Ice spreads through my veins. Why, Reverend Mother, I'm so honored to have you lighting up my shrine again so soon. Okay. The witch slowly approaches the shrine as I slip under the shadows of the table and softly pad towards the exit. The mirror that had once been dull now reflects his portrait as he steps up to the shrine. You fiend, save me your honeyed words and answer me, Reverend Mother. Okay. Is it true? They have visited you? For her? The witch frowns and crosses his arms behind his back. Yes, I did not believe it at first. The words it has been whispering to me at night were nonsense to me. The witch pulls his arms forward and messages the tattooed magic circle on the back of his hand. But now I must do as it asks. Asks? What do they bid you to do, brother? What? The witch's eyes pierce into the glowing orbs of the Reverend Mother's skull. I must return their child to them. Return. The shrine bursts into flames and the skulls all release shrill screams that rattle every window and surface. No! The Reverend Mother emits one last shriek before her connection to the shrine is severed. The witch watches the flames with no remorse, and I can see the blood that trails down the magic circle on his hand. He stumbles slightly on unsteady legs and breaks into a violent cough. His magic is unstable. I dare to observe him just a little longer. Then a shrill cry rings down the hallway. Basil! My head snaps around, making the chains in my mouth jingle and drawing the witch's attention to me. His gaze slams down on me standing in the doorway, seconds away from slipping out, but he does not move to give me chase. He wipes away a streak of blood that trails down his chin, then straightens. Ew, there you are, little puppy. Time to go on a walk. I will take you on a personal tour through hell. I wouldn't like that, thank you. The fur along my spine puffs up when the boy appears right behind me. He grins wickedly, and his carmine eyes crinkle behind the bone-white wolf's skull. Blood runs down his face from his under the mask. I breathe out in quick puffs as the boy blocks my way out of the room, but I see a single, perhaps slightly insane opportunity. Just as he reaches down for me, pale hands starting to blaze with bleeding circles, I slip out between his legs. What? I stick out my tongue as I bound away. Stupid witch! I find Dove standing in the hallway crying into the balls of her hands. When did you change your clothes? When she sees me, she sucks in a sharp breath and starts to rush over to me. I run my eyes up and down her length, then breathe out a sigh of relief when I conclude no harm has come to her. I thought he got you. Dove throws her arms around me and I can feel her shake. The turrible slips from my mouth and clatters onto the floor. My tail wags in her embrace, then so quickly she turns still as a stone. I back away in confusion. Dove looks down at the ropes of black string that wraps around her, then gives me one last look of terror before the strings rip her away from me and down the darkness of the hallway. No! Her screams pound in my ears as the house swallows her. In the chilling silence that follows, I hear chains. Again? Looking for this, doggy? I turn my head and capture just a glimpse of the boy before he melts into the darkness. I twist my neck, trying to follow the phantasmal movements that stalk me in the gloom. I can hear the chains of the turrible swinging and smell the smoke that escapes it, but all around me is nothingness. The sound of the chains moves back and forth like a pendulum. Time to play a little game. Whirl around and come face to face with the boy, crouching down to my level. He gives me an ear-to-ear grin. Basil. My heart almost explodes in my chest. He reaches towards me and I hold my breath. His hand wraps around my snout and gives it a rough pull. His vermilion eyes deepen until they are almost black and he glares down at me. Tag, you're it! I glance down at the turrible in his hand and break for it. My attempt to reclaim the incense holder meets nothing but air. The boy melts into the shadows once again. Then his voice bounces off the walls from every direction, rendering it impossible to pinpoint its source. Catch me and maybe you can have your prize. The sound of clinking chains starts to vanish down the hole. I inhale deeply, then exhale. Then I start to chase it. I swear, past, present, and future, there will never be a single version of these hallways that does not covet my hatred. I pant as I reach a dead end in the hallway. This labyrinth had almost started to become familiar to me, but now it's as if everything has been reset back to nonsense. I retrace my steps back to a set of diverging of halls. I pick up the sound of chains coming from the left. But from the right, there is another sound. My chest tightens. I don't have time for this. Right? Maybe that's Dove? I tiptoe down the right hallway and the sound I've come to investigate grows clearer. I recognize what awaits me from the sound alone. The dull clink of fluttering velvet wings against glass make my ears stand up straight. Oh! In the dark, the bioluminescent red wings of Dove's moths clash within the jar that wraps them. It sits mysteriously right in the middle of the floor, like a lantern floating in the middle of the sea. I dare to think it had been placed here just for me to find, because I'm finding that there is little coincidence to the strangeness that occurs here. My head spins as I search for whoever or whatever could have left the moths here, and all I find is eerie emptiness. I stare down the jar in contemplation, then I wrap my jaws around the glass and carefully pick it up. Perhaps this is a sign of divine intervention, but a terrible feeling tells me something more wicked is brewing here. My pace quickens as I continue to search for the boy. I'm panting heavily when I finally come to a stop again. After a series of running through doors, finding dead ends, and leaping through perilous gaps in the floor, I find myself face to face with a hidden door, the one I slipped through a handful of times by now. It's held wide open for me, beckoning me to enter. I sneak into the greenhouse on drenched paws from the rain and keep my body low to the ground. When I had first walked into the greenhouse, it was bursting with color and life. The rosebush was a shard of the night sky that had fallen down to earth. Now there is not a star that remains amongst the withered veins of vines and leaves. My heart mourns its loss. It was as grand as it was monstrous in its desire for blood, but I still found it no less lovely. When it still stood in all of its grandness, I had found Dove at the base of the rosebush. But now, at its most lifeless, I find the witch. He holds something in his hand and he brings it to his mouth. Blood caps! It almost looks like crystallized gore. It glows. Its glow does not dull even in a dehydrated state. Streaks of light pierce through the witch's fingers as if he were holding a piece of the sun. The dried mushroom crunches loudly between his teeth, and when he swallows, the boon of the bloodcaps bring him to his knees. His body seizes and his legs clog up, dropping him to the tiled floor. A wet cough closes up his throat and his body shakes in a way that looks painful. He gasps for air. A glowing cloak of red light buzzes over his body briefly. When the violent effects of the bloodcap finally starts to settle, the witch wipes his mouth and moves until he is kneeling in front of a small bundle of withered flowers. I watch as he digs into the pocket of his trousers and produces out a small notebook. He snaps it open with the flick of his wrist. A chunk of chalk is wedged between the pages. Immediately, he draws out a magic circle on the floor before the dead flora. A gust of wind blows into the greenhouse and swirls through the space, sweeping the scent of wood and spice into my nose. I slowly move around, watching the witch's back intensely until the terrible comes into view. The mocha cradled between my teeth seems to burst with vigor the closer I get to the witch. The silver censer sits at the witch's side. I can feel my blood rushing through my veins, and I move in. The air shimmers with magic when the witch activates the magic circle he's drawn. I catch a glimpse of hooded purple flowers blooming back to life. Then a twig snaps under my paw. The witch's head snaps in my direction. Up close, I can see his bloodshot scarlet eyes behind his skull mask, and the sheen of sweat over his pale skin. He glances down to the turrible at my feet. Then I throw down the jar of carnivorous moths onto the floor with every scrap of my might. The witch yells out as a cloud of red wings explodes right in his face. The sound of high-pitched chirping vibrates through the air and makes my ears go flat on my head. There are far more moths than what was contained, but I take it as a magical blessing. I dive for the turrible between the chaos. As soon as I have the chains of the turrible between my teeth, the squeaking of the moths vanish. I throw my head up, then shrink back in terror. The boy stands before me, jaw clenched in a sneer. Every moth that had attacked the witch has been incinerated and now falls to the floor in ashes. The boy holds his fist up. The magic circle on the back of his hand oozes blood, dripping down past his wrist. His image wavers as the witch rises to his full height behind him. He raises both his arms and spreads them like wings. Red magic circles blossom over his exposed skin, simultaneously with the witch's. The floor beneath me lurches and trembles, making me stumble on shaky legs. I hear two voices merge into one. You will not be leaving this place. Oh! Oh, how many circles you have! Alive or dead? Are you? What is happening? What is happening? Is the boy is not his son, but his younger version? I clench my jaw around the chains of the turrible. The boy's sick, twisted grin merges with the witch's rageful expression like parting smoke as he takes a step towards me, brimming with magic. The entire mansion rumbles as I dodge creeping vines, rushing away from the witch and out of the greenhouse on slippery tiles. When I'm back inside, I throw myself through the hidden door and roll onto the floor. Rain soaks my fur and my vision spirals. My senses take a moment to return to me, but when they do, a noise pounds against my skull. The grandfather clock lets out a blaring toll that rings down the hall. I release a shaky breath and squint at how bright everything is now. It's like I've stepped into a completely different house. Ha! It is! Yes, it is. The walls bleed a red so bright it strains my eyes. Crimson runs down the windowless panels, making the spaces feel like it's closing in on me with every toll of the clock. In addition, my whole body tenses as I look up to the ceiling. Suddenly, I miss having shadows to blend into. Maybe then I wouldn't feel so exposed to the bone-white faces of the dolls that hang in tangles of strings. I instinctively try to lower myself to the floorboards. The blood that pumps from them is sticky and warm. Wood and bone rattle above me in reaction to the sound of the turrible's chains clinking. The chains will attract their attention. My mind starts to spiral. I feel every chime of the clock's bell like a lash. Maybe I can match each swing to the bell. Oh my god. I mean, sure, you can try. I straighten my neck and hold my head up a little higher. Every time I heard the witch use the turiball, it sounded like it was swung in a controlled rhythm. Iron planks from the top of the spiral staircase. I have to find Dove now. Yes. I slowly move forward and start swinging the turiball. Click the symbol before the timer runs out. What? What symbol? What's the symbol? Symbol. Symbol! Okay. Okay, have I done it? Purple smoke swirls around me, and like a parted curtain, the holes I had walked through that very first night reveal themselves. I steadily move forward and continue my search for Dove, and desperately try not to think about the wood that creaks behind me. Above me, the joints of the dolls click with every unnerving twitch. Will I have to do it again? I try to keep my heartbeat steady, my presence non-existent. But a strange noise from above almost makes my paws tangle beneath me. It's all your fault. Mine? I pretend I don't hear it. Ah yes, I have to. Do it again. Again. Whew. My jaw aches, but I continue to push onwards. Okay. Dove is so close I can feel it. And the footsteps behind me are as well. The dolls above seem to be growing restless. He took us here for you. They look for me vigilantly. It's a terrible idea, but I hasten the pace of the spinning turbo. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Not ready. Not. Ah! I fucked it up. I fucked it up. I fucked it up. I freeze at the crack of every doll's head snapping in my direction. I think I fucked it up. Oh gods. I messed up the timing. Yeah, because I didn't. I accidentally clicked here, and the symbol was here, and I didn't thought that it was counting if you click anywhere else. That's not the symbol. So I go numb with dread. I think we are dead. I blink, and every doll now stands on the ground, completely surrounding me. You can't abandon us, Dove. Oh, found you. Oh no. Now what to do with you? The glowing doors behind the wolf's skull pin me to my spot. He rakes them over the hallway searching for an answer, then his eyes light up when he lands on the crowd of dolls. Oh, now there is an idea. He takes a step towards me and I shrink to the floor. Since you're already her favorite toy, I will have to make sure she never loses you. Oh yeah, we are dead. Fuck! Dove is crying. She hiccups loudly and crushes me against her chest. What's wrong, Dove? I feel so strange. I want to comfort Dove. Dove shifts and places me on the floor. Then she starts to leave. I start to follow her. I can't move. Dove, wait. Wait, Dove. No. No! Come back. Don't leave me. Come back. Oh, we became a doll. Bed End 5. Okay, but you know we can't have that. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Don't fret. I think we are back. And I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. It skipped so fast. I don't know if I done all the rows clicking, symbol clicking things, but I hope I did. My nerves are wound so tight, I feel like the pressure in my chest is on the verge of imploding. But I hear her. My ears pick up those small sobs behind the door. The smoke materializes it before me. My heart leaps with relief. We can finally leave together. A noise halts my steps. I stop so abruptly that I drop the turiball. The sound of something tearing turns my blood into ice. It's not paper, nor fabric that is torn. It is something much more terrifying. It is space itself, forced apart, threads broken and parted, allowing something to come through. The door that bars me from reaching Dove explodes in a mess of splinters. Okay. I duck onto the floor as debris showers me. Down the hall, every other door follows the same pattern. I force myself to look up through sawdust that pricks my eyes. Dove covers on the floor, shielding her head with her arms from the wood that had rained down on her from the explosion. I can see her palms smeared with blood. When I look down to the floor before her, I can faintly make out smudges of crimson under the debris. Dark tears drip down Dove's cheek as she stares at something with wide eyes. The smell of sulfur pierces through the air, then the growls come. My body trembles in horror. I prayed I would never have to hear them again. The sound that come from inside the room are the exact same ones that had started this entire nightmare. I hear the tap of sharp nails on the floorboards and jerk back from the door. Bile threatens to crawl up my throat, my ears lay back, and my tail crawls between my legs. No, it can't be. Dove looks so small compared to the shadow that stretches over her. I failed. What? I found you, little wolf. I turn my head slowly. No. I cover back from the witch and the growls that come from Dove's room. I feel my whole body go numb with defeat. Dove cries out as the creature moves for her and the witch's arms light up with spells. He clenches his teeth and blood runs down his nose. Infernal tunnels blow out from the palms of his hands. The creature launches itself at Dove and meets the witch's flames. It burns into nothing, and I only watch helplessly as Dove crawls away from the violence until she's curled up against the wall. When the beast is nothing but ashes, the witch casually steps over the cinders and walks over to his daughter. Come now, little one, they are gone now. He beckons her towards him, and I watch as she throws her arms around his shoulder and cries into them. The witch picks Dove up in his arms, then he moves towards me. A wave of nausea rolls through me. I have to run. I step back, then I feel something dig into my flesh. I look down and see black threads wrap around my body. I cry out and try to pull away from it, but it ensnares me completely like a web. I look down to polished shoes and whimper. I raise my gaze up to Dove in desperation. She looks at me through tear-streaked eyes, then looks away. Oh, my ears completely flatten. It's over. The witch reaches for something behind me. In an instant, I see the flash of a dagger. Don't worry. Your death will be for great use to me. What the fuck? My love! Finally, after so long, you're back. Okay. Wicked one. Oh! Dead? Oh, mother killed dad? Mother killed our dad? Excuse me? Come out, my darling. What the fuck? I mean, sure. Obviously. Sure, why not? Sure. We have so much work to do. I have so much to teach you. Come look, Dove. This is what weakness looks like. Ah, but you're a human. No, mother, you are a witch as well. I'll make sure you never know it. Bed and 7. How do I get anything but a bed end? I do not understand. If we... Okay, I'm going to try one more thing. If when we are in the study and Dove calls out to us, we are going to leave the incense thingy and just go for Dove and see where that leads us. If that's gonna be also a bad ending, then I'm just going to leave it, because the dev has an ending guide, which is very nice of them. So I think I'm just going to look up what to do if it doesn't change anything. So I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are. I went whatever the name and came for Dove. I find Dove wandering the halls, frantically searching for me. When she sees me, she sucks in a sharp breath and starts to rush over to me. I thought he got you. I couldn't distract him for long enough, I'm sorry. I wanted to find you before he did. Her eyes crawl over me. Did you find anything? My tail wags and I start to nod eagerly. Then I remember that I had left the that behind, in the study with the witch. My ears flop and Dove chews on her lip. You know where it is? I look at her and nod, feeling shameful that I wasn't able to retrieve the turable fast enough. She gives me a soft smile. Then we will get it together. Thus words stoke a fire within me. She stands tall and puts on a brave face as we start to head back together. I lead the way on hurried feet. Dove's footsteps start to follow me, then I hear them stop. I pause, then look back in confusion. Dove looks down at the ropes of black string that wrap around her, then gives me one last look of terror before the strings rip her away from me and down the darkness of the hallway. I'm afraid it's gonna be the same. Her screams pound in my ears as the house swallows her. In the chilling silence of that follows, I hear chains. Looking for this, doggy? Yes, I'm afraid this is gonna be the same. Yes, I can hear the chains of the turable swinging and smell the smoke that escapes it, but all around me is nothingness. Yes, the sound of the chain moves back and forth like a pendulum. Time to play a little game. Yes, it's the same. Oh, will I have any other choices though? Strange that it doesn't, or maybe it changes anything, but just later. Yes. What if I just go left? What if I leave the butterflies? Is that gonna be another bad ending? I make my way down the left hall and come face to face with a complex labyrinth of hallways, staircases, and windows. My chest tightens as I begin to feel overwhelmed. But I hear it, the chains. I swallow hard, take a deep breath, then open up my ears to the sound. This is our one and only chance for freedom. My toes curl and I dig my nails into the floorboard. I center all the tension in my body into my pose, then break out into a run towards the rattle of metal. I will find you. I'm panting heavily when I finally come to a stop again. After a series of running through doors, finding dead ends, and leaping through perilous gaps in the floor, I find myself face to face with a hidden door, the one I've slipped through a handful of times by now. It's held wide open for me, beckoning me to enter. Yeah, I guess this is gonna be the same. Yes. The witch, the blood caps. Yes. I'm afraid it's just gonna be another bad ending. Yeah. I fling myself towards the turtle, but I don't make it fast enough. Yeah, because we didn't have the butterflies. The witch's hand catches onto the fur of my neck and he grips me by the scruff. His eyes look at me with pity. Nice try, Matt. I snap my teeth at him, growl, and try to claw his face to get away, but all it does is make him hold me at an arm's length. After all the inconvenience you've caused me. His eyes darken and I wilt under the pressure of his gaze. I think it's time you pay for all the inconvenience you've caused me. Bed and 4. Okay. Then what? I'm going to look up. There are a lot of bad endings. I absolutely don't care about all the bad endings. But there are one good ending and one true ending. So I'm going to look up how to get them. Just a minute. Okay, stop. I have to save her. Yes. Okay, from what? Wait. Where are we? Oh, yes. So we found Dove. The door has exploded and we run into the room because we want to save her. Okay, and now everyone prepare for the good ending. Dove startled as I leap over chunks of wood until I reach her. I don't look at the beast. I slide under Dove's torso and push her up off the floor. She gasps, then follows my lead and rises up on her own. My body moves completely separated from my mind as I drag Dove with me by her sleeve. We barrel down the halls, hindered by enchantments no more, until the wide open frame of the kitchen's back door is right in front of us. The witch's scream echoes through the entire mansion. Dove! The floor beneath us trembles. I see Dove's feet hesitate behind me, right at the threshold. So I get behind her and shove her through the door by throwing all of my body weight at her. We tumble outside in a messy heap. Dove scrapes her cheek on the dirt and gets gravel embedded on her palm. After taking a moment to recover, she looks at her scratched hands in awe. I pick up the sound of shoes heavily stomping down the stairs inside, and I get up again. Dove's neck starts to twist back, but I grab her sleeve and pull her forward. My eyes meet her watery ones. Run, Dove, and don't stop! Dove! Dove! Basil! Move a little more to the right. I roll my eyes and settle down in the grass beside Dove's reclined length. She whines and I stifle a smile as I lift my hand to shield her face from the light. My hand? Excuse me, did I get my hand back? Excuse me? Is that me? Am I a human again? And if so, how? She lays in the middle of a grassy hill, surrounded by books and notes that flutter in the breeze. Your cheeks are burnt. If you're gonna fall asleep outside while reading, you should use your books to block the sun. What if I like my face feeling warm? Dove flips over onto her stomach and pouts at me. But speaking of sleep, it is me! How have I become a human again? I am a werewolf. I'm telling you, I am a werewolf. And look at me, we are so pretty. We're all grown-ups now. Oh! I yelp and she reaches out and pinches my cheek. Nat told me you've been spending too many nights working and not resting. I wince at her scolding and give her a sheepish smile. I just balance things out. You sleep too much. My eyes flick away. Besides, I like to stay up just to make sure no monsters crawl out from under your bed. Look how long her hair is. I throw her a hopeful, convincing grin, then brush my knuckles against her sunburned cheeks, seeking forgiveness when I see it's not working. Dove is far too perceptive for my own good. She gives me a knowing look, then tips her nose up at me. Enough. Lie with me and enjoy the lovely weather. It feels like such a waste to spend such a nice day sleeping, though. Whoever said sleeping wasn't productive. Dove shoves my shoulders back and sits up beside me. I will even make you a pillow to rest your weary head on. I raise a brow curiously, then feel a tickle from something growing beneath my head. Ew. My eyes shut, appreciating the plushness. Then they blow wide. I sit up so quickly my head spins. I look down at the ivy that had sprouted from completely nothing, then snap my neck towards Dove. I glance at the bleeding magic circle on the back of her hand, then back up to her face. She grins at me warmly. What did you just do? I used magic. You're not a full-fledged witch. His grin only stretches wider. I figured out the secret. I look at her incredulously, I don't know. Huh? Dove shoves me back down and lies next to me, shoulder to shoulder. How? I try to sit up again, but Dove places a heavy hand on my chest. I will tell you when you wake up. I'm not tired. Don't make me put you in a year-long enchanted sleep. Fine, fine. Now close your eyes and I will treat you to a hint. I sigh, then do as she says. My eyes flutter shut. A cool breeze brushes through the air on my forehead. The heat of the sun makes my cheek flush, and the sound of cicadas play like a soothing hum. I feel one of those hands intertwined with my own as she shifts closer to me. A shadow moves over my eyes. When I peek an eye open, I see Dove's hand hovering over my face to block the brightness. This feeling. I feel her soft breath against my neck. I move my head to lean it against hers. This was all I needed, all along. Hey, look, you are here in this book. That's the sun. Aww. Look at us. Look at us go with the wolves. Is it my family? Is this my family? Yes. You're here as well. That's a star. And oh, dusk and dawn also here. They're everywhere in these pictures, just like their fur. I slept last time. It's your turn. I know, but after let's go for a night walk. Want to go stargazing again? Every night with you. Oh, ho, ho, the babies! The babies! Now, you would think we will stop here. But if we are at it, we're gonna have to check out the true ending, right? So, just another break. I'll be right back. Hold on. And I'm back. Prepare yourselves for the true ending, for which we have to choose I have to get out of here. I can't save her. I trip over chunks of wood as I step away. Those eyes swing to me and her crying face is the last thing I see. Basil? Before I spin away, and run. The sound Dove makes pierces right through me. As my body carries me away, her voice drowns out all my other senses. Don't leave me! Her scream is so raw with desperation that it makes my mind shut down. I whimper my way through the entirety of the house. No! What am I doing? Whatever Dove had done has completely shattered the glamour that had enchanted the entire mansion, leaving it nothing more than cold and dusty. Wind breaks through the windows and howls like it had been waiting 1,000 years for this moment. It moves against me and makes my skin feel like ice. My head feels like it's underwater, like I'm stuck in a dream where running feels like trying to move through quicksand. The world around me moves in slow motion. Time is stretched into an agonizing flow that forces me to memorize every little detail as punishment for the grave sin I'm committing. Every little chip and fragment of wood embedded into the pads of my paws, the burn of the wind in my eyes, the smell of flowers and old books that start to lose out to the smell of wet decay. My lungs burn, starving for air. My eyes observe every crack in the floorboards and every tear in the wallpaper. The back of my skull pounds with an overwhelming need to cry. But this prison I've trapped myself in denies me like a punishment. Outside the windows, the moon sits against the black night sky, surrounded by glittering white stars. The light that shines on the floor lights my path to freedom, but in my heart this does not feel like freedom at all. I have to go back. When I reach the kitchen, the door frame is empty of anything that could be in my way. I can't just leave her. I scream against the walls of my mind, but I don't stop. I can't stop. Because I've never known anything more terrifying than the beast Dove had brought in. As I race for the exit, I accidentally slam my shoulder into the leg of the kitchen table and send a bowl of something tumbling onto the ground. Purple flowers rain down on me, and I quickly shake them off and continue on. I run through pieces of broken wood and break through a wall of damp summer air. When I feel grass beneath my feet again, I stop dead in my tracks. I take in deep gulps of the humidity. My ears flick at the sound of the dry lawn crunching under my paws. I'm free. Then a painful surge of emotion claws its way up my throat, and I release a heart-wrenching howl so full of relief and sorrow. The pressure inside my skull feels like it could unmake me. I cry in the only way I can and race for home. The sun only just begins to, s- to peek out from the horizon by the time I scratch the door of my grandmother's cottage with mindless desperation. I whine and cry when I hear footsteps start to approach the door. Begone, you critter, before you leave scratch marks all over my door. My head hurts so much with agony and joy when I hear her voice. The second the door swings open, I barrel into the house and cry against my grandma's skirts. Aw! I breathe in the smell of herbs and fresh linens. What in the hells? What's got a tiny thing like you so shaken? I see her squint down at me, and when she looks into my eyes, they flash with recognition. She drops to her knees and takes my head in her hands. It can't be. Her eyes search the depth of mine. When she finds what she seems to be looking for, she shoots off the floor and starts rummaging through her shelves. I hear her already hissing out, scolding under her breath, and I bow my head shamefully. Unbelievable! She works quickly, gathering everything she needs, a dusty old journal of spells and chalk. The circle she draws is similar to the one I had drawn myself, only everything seems to be in reverse. I stare at it in dread and anticipation. After everything, I can't believe I would even try to delay this. I've just been trapped for so long. I feel like it will be so hard learning how to walk on 2 feet again. With haste, child! Come, let's get you fixed! My grandma waves me over to the circle with the small dagger she holds in my hand. What? I take a deep breath, then move on to the circle, one paw at a time. It's so cold. The necklace Dove had made for me had been ripped apart during the transformation. No! Each precious bead sits scattered all over the floor, reflecting a face I've almost forgotten. My grandma silently throws a blanket over my shivering bare shoulders, then closes it tightly around me. I can see her hands tremble as they move forward, the quilt to hold my cheeks between her palms. I release a shaky exhale and shut my eyes, preparing for the lecture of my life. Where have you been, Basil? My eyes pop open and mouth drops in shock. Every tear I haven't been able to shed now spills out uncontrollably. I choke at a sob and throw myself into the warmth of my grandma's arms, then cry out a lifetime's worth of tears. Bebe! Tiny Bebe! Looky! It takes a long time for my sobs to bubble into weak hiccups. My grandma pats down my hair, then her hand pauses. I sniffle and curl up against her chest. Gods! My shoulders jump at her sudden exclaim, and I lean back to see something she holds through swollen eyes. She quickly drops a purple flower into her lap, then pulls a handkerchief out of her pocket to pick it back up. Why in the hell are you covered in wolfsbane? When I try to speak, my voice comes out hoarse. The rough state of my unused vocals make me cough out my words. Wolfsbane? That's a flower the witch was gathering. It must have clung to me from when I knocked over that bowl in the kitchen. A lick of dread enters my veins. My grandma stands and quickly checks me for any more stray blooms. You didn't let it touch your skin, did you? It's highly toxic. My eyes grow to the size of saucers and I shoot up from the floor. Toxic? The quilt that was covering me falls and she circles around me. Good, you have no more on you. My cheeks burn and I quickly wrap myself in the blanket once more. What does it do? My grandma throws the lone wolfsbane into a small jar, already filled with a few of the same flowers. A long, unpleasant list of things, tingling at best, paralyzes at mild, death at worst. My heart drops. My mind takes a moment to process her words. Why would such poison be in the kitchen? I freeze. The door of the cottage is still swung open. I hear the old hinges creak, then a soft coo. Slowly, I turn my head to it. In the brightness of the rising sun, a little dove hops in front of the entrance to the cottage. I watch it curiously, entranced by its sudden appearance. Then my eyes are drawn to a small patch on its chest. Red blooms right in the center of the dove's white chest, and I feel a chilling blanket of anxiety drape over me. Dove. Not just any dove, that one knows as the bleeding heart dove. Oh, I feel the word lurch sideways. My grandma cocks her head at me and raises a brow, then startles when I suddenly throw myself at her. Tears prick my eyes and I cling to her arms desperately. We have to go back. You are bringing the granny? You will be explaining everything to me after this, boy. Yeah, I don't think there will be an after this. We're all going to die here. Honestly, to be doing this in your state, just what have you been up to? Nothing good. The sun is high in the sky when we finally reach the mansion. It's strange seeing it so bathed in light from the outside. It gives off a completely different aura. And a hollow one. I feel nauseated after the trek back under the merciless heat. At least the cicadas are far less offensive to my human ears. I lean my hand against the door frame of the back door and stare inside. Part of me is terrified to take a step inside. I fear the nightmare will start all over again. But I have to find her. I stumble through the threshold and nothing happens. It's only been hours since I was last here, but it feels like it's been weeks. Without hesitation, I bolt through the house in search of her. I slip on splintered wood and glass and I swallow hard. My grandma yells out at me as I take off without her. Oh, slow down, Basil! My shoes step on the floorboards as I run down the halls and throw my head into rooms for signs of Dove. My voice cracks as I call out for her. Oh, and the little wolf icon disappeared! Dove! Dove! My legs feel like jelly, but I force them to move. I search every room, replaying my history with them in my head, as if they are relics of my past, and not places I had lived in less than a day ago. Every room feels foreign from my human perspective, and the more I search, the more panic spreads through me. Please, please, where are you, Dove? My shoes skid to a stop in front of her room. The last time I couldn't find her, she was just hidden away behind the curtains of her bed. My jaw tightens and I rush into the room. My hands grab fistfuls and my heart pounds in my chest. My mind pictures her there, asleep, alive, just waiting for me to come back for her. Will she forgive me for running away? I tear open the curtains. Then stagger back a step. I feel a tear slide down my cheek. I hear my grandma's slow steps approach the bedroom from behind me. What a depraved place! I see her brush a hand against the frame of the door from the corner of my eye as I stare into the empty bed before me. It's practically a void of magic with how little there is here. Oh, she takes a step into the room. My grandma is a witch as well? Just what on earth happened? She suddenly lurches back and places a hand on her chest. Hells! I glance at her and furrow my brows in confusion. She stares at the floor in horror. When I follow her gaze, all the blood drains from my face. My eyes grow wide and I gape at the pool of dried blood that sticks to the floor. Right in the middle of a large magic circle. I drop to my knees in front of it and touch the blood with the tips of my fingers. Tears gather in my eyes. Dove? Was she sacrificed? Dove's heart! Let's go! After he saves me from the hounds, he makes me tea. As the poison takes effect, he draws a circle around my frozen form. I can't do anything, so in my head I say a protection spell my mother had taught me. I didn't believe it was a real spell, but it worked. I brought him to me the first time I used it, Oh, you mean me? Oh. So it has to work again, right? I stare at the doorway and start the spell. Scenes and sunlight. My stomach hurts. Diamond tea. He dusts the chalk off from his hands. Altars and art. I see the flash of a dagger. Bleeding hearts. And basil. Oh, I have to do this. I'm sorry. And basil. I watch the door, waiting for him to appear. Oh, that's why he was so surprised when she learned that we are actually called Basil. I watch the door, waiting for him to appear. Forgive me, Dove. He gently moves me onto my back and I stare up at the point of a blade. The steel reflects my fragile mortality back at me. This is the closest I've ever felt to human. No. Tears well up in my eyes as he raises the dagger. Oh. And Basil. Oh no. Oh, the dagger plunges straight into my heart. Dying feels like falling into water. I float in cold nothing, and for some reason, I'm not alone. He says I can call him Belphegor. I tell him his name is too long. He laughs. Thank you. His laugh is a loud, patient thing, like he has all the time in the world to unleash it. Then the water is pulled from under me. My father looks confused when I get back up. I'm also confused. My blood covers his hands and clothes. A shadow engulfs him. I turn my head and squint at the sunlight that has broken past the horizon line. Outside my window, a man hovers in the air with bat-like wings that stretch out behind him. Oh, this is the figure from the painting on the window. And also from it's not from the loading screen, but if you buy the game or look it up on itch, then it's the picture for the game Dove and the winged creature behind her. I blink, trying to see if he is nothing more than a trick of the light. His shoes step as he steps into the room and kneels before me. The smell of roses is so familiar. It's like he's walked straight out of a dream I had forgotten as soon as I woke up. He takes a chunk of my hair in his hand and smiles softly.
Look at that. It's like it's made from pure starlight.
It got white like our mother's was. Also, this is the only voice acted line in the game. Light glints off his sharp canyons.
We match.
I'm sorry, we have more voice acted lines. I look down at the white strands he holds, then up at him. Horns curl out from the sides of his head. That's mine? I bite down on my lip and my chest starts to grow tight. I look at the stranger with round eyes. Am I dead? A voice from behind startles me back into reality. What the hell is going on? The demon's expression falls and he stands, taking me with him in his arms. I go stiff as a board in his tattooed arms. When he notices, he only shoots me a quick wink and faces my father. I stare at him with pinched brows, but my body relaxes slightly in his hold. Why does it feel like I've known him for a long time?
Apologies. I know we had a little arrangement.
I see Belfi run his tongue over the points of his sharp canyons. Then he grins.
But did you know?
Yes. The air rushes out of my lungs when Belfi suddenly flies forward until he stands over my father's fallen form. Yes? The demon's vermilion eyes glow dangerously as he leans forward. I've never seen my father covered like this before. Satisfaction and embarrassment sweep through me. I wonder if Belfi can read my emotions because his mouth stretches in a toothy smile.
Traumatized others are much more interesting to make deals with.
So we made a deal. How come? Also, he looks fucking sexy. I'm just saying. I just say it, you know, just so you know. The demon straightens.
And really now, can you imagine how boring it would be if I just let you have your wife back after sacrificing your own daughter?
I thought so. We won. But hey, wait. Okay, stop. Because we had a bad ending where the daughter was alive, and somehow they resurrected the mother, but the mother killed the father. So how come now we have to sacrifice Dove in order to get the mother back? You know, like how? What's happening? I freeze as I take in his words. Aww, so pretty! He did all that just to bring her back? It was obvious. I feel my throat start to close on me and I start to choke down a sob. Am I really not enough? Oh, sorry. Belfic continues on as I start to shake. I feel his grip on my shoulder slightly tighten. He looks down at my father with scorn.
No.
His name! I just realized his name is not Belfagor, it's Belfi here as well. Oh my god, it's amazing.
It's time to start a whole new game of cat and mouse. Can you guess who will be playing who?
My father goes pale. His eyes meet mine. I see blood well upon the back of his hand. I flinch back in alarm from the flames that erupt towards us and twist my head into the demon's chest. I feel the heat brush against my cheek and expect to feel the pain of 1,000 needles, but it does not meet my flesh. Belfi doesn't flinch away from the flames. When I turn my head, I see him absorb the blaze with nothing but the palm of his hand. He gives my father a sour look. I quiver in his arms and stare in disbelief. Tears drip down my face.
Cheater.
Why, that's not cheating. My lip trembles, then twists into a sneer. You tried to kill me. I think he actually did kill you, I think. I thrash in Belfi's arms, trying to claw my way to him.
Little Dove, he didn't just try, he succeeded.
Yes, I thought so. He looks at me in shame and regret, as if he has any right to feel that way. How could you? Belfi's arms restrain me, but for a moment I feel him slip on purpose. I finally get close enough to tear my nails down his face before I'm pulled away. He cries out and slaps a hand over the blood that now runs down his face. He backs away and looks at me with shock. My vision goes red with malice, and all the hurt and betrayal I feel pours out of my mouth in a banshee scream. I will kill you! Belfi reels me back again.
Now, little bird. A little taste for blood is all you get. For now. Be good and you can have more when you're ready.
I pant from exertion and continue trying to break free. Belfi cradles me against his broad chest tightly and smiles down at me. When he looks back at my father, it completely melts away.
You.
He flinches as the demon focuses his cold gaze on him.
Start running. or we will catch up too quickly.
He looks at me one more time. He looks at me almost like a parent would before he hides behind his wolf skull. Dove? I snarl at him like a wounded beast. Crimson eyes widen, fists curl, and his shoulders slump forward. His body lurches forward with a violent cough, and I quickly avert my eyes, pretending I don't see the blood he expels onto his hands. From the corner of my eye, I see him look up at me one more time. Then he disappears into a wisp of smoke. The second he disappears, everything slams down on me all at once. Exhaustion weighs me down, and all I can do is flop against Balfi. So we got adopted by a demon daddy. My eyes squeeze shut and I try to lock up the tears that threaten to spill over. Right now, there is only one thing I want. I want to go outside. Balfi's just... Excuse me. I'm in the middle of a sentence. Balfi's just vibrates as he laughs at my request.
Shall we go stretch those wings, little dove?
Ooh! I stand in the light that pours through the door. The door. The door to outside. I can feel the warmth that radiates off the sunlit floorboards and curl my toes into it. Balfi stands in the doorway, waiting patiently for me.
Well, what are you waiting for?
Aww. For it to disappear again, to wake up from this dream. I don't know, something terrible. Anything that will make a fool out of me for having hope. A gentle breeze blows towards me. It smells like the forest. I grip onto the skirt of my dress like it's a life rope, and I dangle over an endless abyss. Then Balfi holds out his hand towards me.
Come now. There is much to do.
Aww. I jolt. My heart jumps at his words. I barely register the first step I take towards him, but I feel the next one, the one after even more so. Each new step feels defiant. As I grow closer, my confidence starts to build like the crescendo of a song. Tears prick at the corner of my eyes. I can feel even more warmth from the sun. And before I know it, I'm running recklessly towards freedom. I wait for the door to slam in my face, for everything to wash away into nothing like a cruel jest. But despite that, I let a feeling bubble up within me. Hope. I feel like the only dove who's ever been without it. As I burst through the door and rush into the tall grass, I let it wrap around my heart like a sheet of steel, and I won't let anything take it from me again. Well, it was definitely way much more that I thought it's gonna be. I honestly prepared for like 2 or 3 hours of gameplay at max, and we are at 6, 7 now. So yeah, it was way much more than what I expected. It was way better than what I was expected, I would say, because obviously a few hours of experiments can be very good as well, but this was way more deep and complex story-wise. I liked it. I very much liked it. I very, very much liked it, and I'm glad we played it to the very end. I hope you liked it as well. If you did, please don't forget to let YouTube know about it as well by liking, subscribing, leaving a comment. But no one likes outros, so bye-bye!